All right, folks, we are back again here at Bell & Alexander Title Services, our preferred title company here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Last video, we actually got to sit down with the branch manager here, Mr. Justin Mooneyham, and learned a little bit more about what a title company does in the world of real estate and the value they bring to the table. So we're going to sit down again with Justin and get a couple title horror stories so that you can see the value of what the title company does and what the value of title insurance is in the real world, where the value lies for you as the consumer, whether you're the purchaser of the property or the seller of the property. We're gonna cover some stories that are from both sides, and yeah, so let's go ahead and head on in here and sit down with Mr. Justin Mooneyham and get started on our video today.
Hey everyone, this is Justin Mooneyham with Bell & Alexander Title. As Mark mentioned, I'm here to tell you guys about some title horror stories today. So in the previous video that we'll link right up here, we talked about what title insurance is and why it's important for you guys to purchase that. Today we're going to talk about some of the things that can happen if you don't purchase title insurance. And so I've been doing this, like I said in the previous video, for 8 years. I've done over 5,000 transactions and I've seen some stuff. And so one of the main ones I use all the time, which is going to be our first title horror story here, is I had a gentleman from my hometown who was going to refinance his property. And so a refinance is when you already own the property and you're basically paying off the current lien to get a new lien. And so whether that may be you're cashing out to make some improvements to your house, you're doing a refinance to get a better rate, whatever that may be, that is kind of what a refinance is. And so he was doing a refinance. The lender sent us a title order and we did a title search on that property. When we got our title work back, we found that there was a lien still against the previous owner. And so the previous owner had a mortgage on the property, and that mortgage had never been released. So we call the current property owner and say, hey man, do you have a title insurance policy? And he did not. He said, when I bought the property, I waived title insurance. I don't have a policy. What do we need to do moving forward? And so at that point, we had to try and get a release for the lien on the previous owner. And so we made a lot of phone calls on that. Basically, we had to reach out, find out who the last servicer of that mortgage was, which means who was the last person to receive payments on that. Well, we found out who the last servicer was, and that servicer actually was shut down and went out of business during the recession in 2008. When they went out of business, the courts had appointed somebody basically to sign releases on behalf of that company. So what that means is they had appointed an individual who can sign these releases when these loans are paid for in order to release them so they no longer show up on title. Well, the individual who was appointed by the court actually ended up having a heart attack and passing away before the releases were done. So at that point, there is actually not a person on the earth who is authorized to sign a release on that property. So this gentleman who all he was trying to do was do a refinance, cash out refinance to make some improvements on his property, now is unable to do so because we cannot get a release on that. If he would have had an owner's title insurance policy, we would have been able to do what's called an indemnification, which is basically just where we write over it. And we would have been able to write over that, and he would have been able to close that cash out refinance no problem. And so that is one of the main examples I use in title insurance because it didn't result in him losing the house. It wasn't anything catastrophic. There was no lawsuit or anything of that nature. It was just a guy trying to make some improvements on his house and couldn't because a lien had not been released. And if he would have had a title insurance policy, it would have been resolved in 5 minutes. So that is why you need a title insurance policy. Now the next story I'm going to talk about is a little different. So the first story was about unreleased liens on previous owners. The next story is actually going to be about missed heirs to an estate. And so an heir in this instance is somebody who inherited real property after somebody passed away. So I had a file a couple years ago that we get in our office, it's an estate selling it, and so it's a single individual who is the supposed heir of this estate, has gone on a contract to sell this property. Well, we get our title search in, we get the estate documents in, as in this instance, are the documents that were used to probate that estate with the courts. And so we get everything in, we review it, and while everything was probated through the courts and done as it was a single heir, well, that was incorrect. So in the state of Tennessee, not to get too deep into it, when you pass away without a will, you go through what's called intestate succession, and so that kind of is how we determine who the heirs on a piece of property are. It can go as deep as aunts and uncles, and that's where this one ended up, and there were 9 aunts and uncles, 8 of which were deceased. The estate had been done to where they only probated it to the surviving aunt. However, it should have included the descendants of the 8 deceased aunts and uncles as well. So the property was being sold with only a single person signing when it was over 30 who should have been signing to convey that property. Now, luckily, we caught that one prior to closing, but unfortunately, there was another file that closed with a different company that they did not. And so that will probably result in a claim at some point, but that is the importance not only of having title insurance, because if that would have not been caught prior to closing, you've got 30-something people that can make a claim on your property and say, hey, I'm the owner of this property, I was so-and-so's heir, I have a claim to this. So that is why you want title insurance on that, and also why you want to choose a good title company, especially one that's attorney-owned, because it is important when you review those estate documents prior to closing that it's done correctly. Now, the last title horror story I've got for you is something a little different. So this is not actually something that is covered by title insurance. This is something that happens post-sale. So a big thing right now in Tennessee is a type of fraud that actually involves identity fraud. So one of the major things that we're dealing with as title companies right now is identity fraud. And so what is happening is people are stealing identities of landowners, and then they are fraudulently listing these properties on the MLS, on Zillow, to then try to sell those properties fraudulently. And it is very bad right now in Middle Tennessee. I know of well over 100 properties that are currently tied up because of this identity fraud. And so the reason I bring this up is not to scare you, is to just let you know that there are a couple of things that you can do to try and prevent this title horror story from happening to you. If you go to your local Register of Deeds office website, so each county in Tennessee will have a register of deeds. You can go to their website, and most of them have a sign up for alerts link. And so what that does is you can actually sign up to receive an alert every single time something is recorded in your name and on your property. Now, does that prevent the fraudulent activity from taking place? Unfortunately, no. At that point, something has been recorded that you will have to deal with, but the earlier you can get notice to this, the better. And the second thing you can do is there are now home warranty companies that are offering identity protection and post-sale title insurance as a part of their home warranty. So home warranties are a warranty that you can purchase through your transaction when you purchase, but you don't have to be closing at that time. You can purchase a home warranty on a house you've owned for 10 years. What they do is they cover appliances and stuff like that in the house, but one thing you may want to look into is getting a home warranty for that post-sale title insurance and that identity theft protection. I think most of them do like up to $1 million. And so that is something that is very rampant right now, unfortunately. I've had clients who unfortunately had people show up on their front door saying that they had purchased that property with the owner still in the property. And so it's very important that you do everything you can to keep that from happening. And so one of those things is signing up for the alerts through the Register of Deeds, and then maybe looking into a home warranty or something of that nature. And that is the last title horror story that I have for you today. I look forward to it next time. Thanks so much.
All right, folks, we want to thank you for joining us here at Bell & Alexander Title Services. I want to give a special thanks to my friend, Mr. Justin Mooneyham. And remember, folks, whether you're moving in 9 days or 90 days, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or schedule a personalized Zoom call with us, all in the description below, so that we can help you make a smooth move here to Nashville, Tennessee. Until next time, we hope to see you around town soon.